お待たせいたしました。それでは次の。
Thank you for waiting. Now I would like to open next session. Professor Miss Maruno, who are on the schedule, cannot participate today's session because of the schedule. Professor Michikoshi, his major is space physics and numerical simulation. He uses Ruby for the simulation analysis for the numerical simulation. So he has been participating together with his students, and Sakai-san, Hasebe-san, and Hiro-san will have their presentation following the professor's presentation. I am Michikoshi from Kyoto Women's University. So in Kyoto Women's University, we are doing some activities in regards to Ruby. So in our university, the programming education has been conducted centering around Ruby. So I'm going to talk about our programming education in Kyoto Women's University. And in the second half of our presentation, the students who learned in our programming education, they started some peripheral or derivative activities following the session, following the study, and I'm going to share their learning. So the presenter today, let us introduce. So we were going to present by two people today, and I'm going to first introduce Ms. Maruno. She's the lecturer of the Contemporary Society Division of the Kyoto Women's University. She's actually the first graduate of our university. And in 2001, she started to study Ruby in her class. And then she has found the fun of the Ruby. And also she has joined as a SE in a company. She went to the graduate school to study the programming. And together with her research activities, she's now teaching at our university. And now she's the full-time lecturer in our university. And she does the class of the programming and so on. I am Michikoshi. I am also a professor at the Kyoto Women's University, the Contemporary Social Department. I joined the Kyoto Women's University in April this year. My major is not really information, actually physics. Numerical simulation or numerical analysis uses Ruby. So I'm very familiar with the Ruby. And this year, I have been transferred to this Kyoto Women's University. And using my background, I'm doing the education in my university. So the reason I introduced ourselves is Maruno-san. She's really appropriate person to give presentation today, but because of her convenience, she's not now able to join this conference. So let me explain her slide as well. Today's presentation outline is there are two parts. The first half. Well, what kind of education, what kind of teaching we have done in our university in terms of the programming education. And especially, we are having quite unique program. The senior grade students are teaching the junior grade students, which is doing we are doing very well. And I'm going to share what we do. And also, after learning Ruby in college, the students will start a voluntary activity separate from their college class. And I'm going to introduce today a couple of examples, such as Rails Girls or Ruby Girls. Well, of course, I could explain by myself. However, my students are participating in this conference. And I hope that they can introduce what they are doing by themselves. So the programming education in my college, what has been done so far, let me explain briefly. So in our college, when we started Ruby, actually back in 2001, we started the education of Ruby. And Ruby will celebrate 25 years soon. That was mentioned in yesterday's presentation. And we were quite early in terms of adopting Ruby in our education. And Ms. Maruno, who are scheduled to make presentation, so all the experts of the IT technologies, we have been developing many of them. And we don't do just only programming, but we do have other kind of algorithm or IT information type of classes. But in terms of the education related to Ruby, there are 3 classes written here. In the second semester of the first grade, there's a class for programming basic, and everyone will start learning from this. And our department is the contemporary sociology, and there are about 300 students. And this is not compulsory class. The students who have interest can take this class. And I don't have any accurate survey or accurate statistics, but recently more than 100 students have applied for this class. And this year, 150 out of 300 are learning in this class. So about half of these women's universities have an interest in programming and learning, which is very amazing. So the expectation or passion for programming education is now increasing. That's what I feel. And in the second grade, they will start the applied course for the programming. And somebody may know there's an Ruby Association Certified Award, which they can learn very detailed syntax of the Ruby. So not everyone, however, as early as the end of second grade, they will pass this certificate. So some of them are making really hard effort. And there's a logo on the right bottom. We are certified as the educational institution silver in this year. So until second year, the syntax of programming, they will learn very hard. And they will start learning about application from the third grade in seminar. For example, in the advanced seminar, like in Maruno-san's class, the web application development using web on Rails are actually demonstrated. So we will make a quite significant advancement in 4 years. So how we do in programming class, we have a long tradition, and there are lots of know-hows already accumulated. For example, the programming basic in the first grade, there's well, we don't have any room dedicated for the terminals, but all the college students have already purchased a PC. And they will bring their own PC to class, and we will do the demonstration. 20 to 30 students per one class. And we will have actually a demonstration type of the class. And we will start teaching Ruby from scratch. And it's not like integration or development environment, but terminal will be installed, and Emacs will be also installed, where they can start making programming. And the level at the start, I think you cannot imagine what kind of level they are when they are starting. Well, they don't really have a strong passion to do the programming, but most of them do not have any strong knowledge about computer or programming. And during guidance, they will realize there's a programming course, and that's why they start learning.
So before they come to these classes, they're not so familiar with the computer, so they're not really good with the keyboard manipulation. So the 20 or 30 students will be taught by one professor and one TA. So it is very difficult to do that for those beginners, and teaching them how to use terminals or Emacs, it's rather difficult. So that's when the student staff comes in. So what do we do in this activity? So it's unlike TA. We ask students to volunteer to work as a student staff. So we call them a student staff or SS. So who took these classes when they were first or second grade in the university and then joined the IT-related seminar, and then they are in the third or fourth grade and then support the classes. So it's been about 1 or 2 years since they started learning Ruby. So this is brings certain advantage to the students who are taking this class. So if you are new to the university, it's not so easy to ask questions to a professor. But if you have like a 2 or 3 year older than yourself, and you have a senior staff, it's easier to ask them questions, and it also gives them an image of how they will be after 1 or 2 years taking this class. So if you study hard and if you really apply yourself, you will become able to teach Ruby yourself. And for the student staff point of view, there's also an advantage. So if you teach something to someone, you have to have a very good knowledge. And sometimes when they ask questions, you will also learn and rediscover your knowledge. So in our classes, the newcomers and also the more senior student members can learn, and I think this is working very well at our university. So next, this is something what we have been doing in our class. And students keep learning Ruby, and when they get to the second grade, they are able to use Ruby, and there are certain activities that are led by our students. So we would like to ask our students to introduce some of the activities that they are doing. I'm in the third year of Kyoto Women's University. So on 24th and 25th of this month, there will be a Rails Girls Kyoto event, and I'm an organizer to that event. So this might not be necessary to be mentioned, but some of you already know the word Rails Girls, but let me just briefly explain. So what is Rails Girls? So for a larger group of women to learn programming, and this is a community to support them learn the programming. And in each part of the world, Rails Girls events are held, taking advantage of each locality. And at Kyoto Women's University, we have done 2 events as Rails Girls. And the Rails Girls Kyoto Women's University activity I would like to talk about. So in Kyoto, there have been 7 Rails Girls, and this will be the 8th event. And at Kyoto University, Women's University, this will be the 3rd event. So, as mentioned earlier, the classes that are conducted at Kyoto Women's University. So when we are in the first grade, we learned Ruby, and so student staff and student coaches and veteran coaches. So thanks to their contributions, those events were successful. Later, there will be a presentation about Ruby girls and the programming classes for elementary school students. So the purpose of those events is to teach someone programming, and the reason why we have Rails girls. So one of the reasons is that not just participants, but for the people who are organizing this event, this is a very important learning event. So we learned Ruby in the first grade, and if it's a Rails girls, either 3-year grade or 4th-year grade students will contribute as organizers, and some volunteers from the 2nd-year grade will volunteer as coaches, but they're very new to Rails, so sometimes their knowledge is not good enough. And so how they are used in reality, how they're utilized in the real world, it's not, their knowledge or understanding is not deep enough to understand those practical usage. So compared with the other two events, at Rail Girls, coaches and not so experienced students will join this event, and through this event, this will provide them with the opportunity to really make important progress in their knowledge. So when I was in the 2nd year of my university, and I successfully learned the failure. What I mean is that I was a little bit self-complacent. So I took the classes on Rails, and I created the e-commerce website, and I thought that I knew Rails, and there was no opportunity to learn. So my world was in a very small, closed world, and then I joined Rails Girls, and the participants, those Rails Girls, had viewpoints which I did not have, and asked me questions from the viewpoint which I never thought of. So it was really difficult to explain in words. So that was a failure I experienced. So that failure came as a shock to me, and I asked myself, what did I learn? So the learning process at the classes and the encounterment with Ruby or Rails were so important to me. By repeating those failures, my Rails world grew bigger and bigger, and now I'm a part of the member of the Ruby community. And as I mentioned earlier, taking part in Ruby community, or to get an opportunity to get in touch with the Ruby community, because this is difficult if you are only at the university campus. So after I took part in Rails Girls, and throughout the tradition, I met some people who have many more experiences, and I also learned about the other Rails Girls events. So that was a really major step for me. So many of you are already the member of the Ruby community, so you might not fully relate with me, but learning this Ruby programming language and learning Rails. But if you do that alone, you don't really get to the point where you join the Ruby community. But once you join the Ruby community, there are various other events like Ruby conference or Ruby Kaigi. So even if there is no further opportunity for me to learn Ruby at my university, but I can join the Rails Girls event or Ruby events, so I can go out and learn for myself.
So among participants, there are some people after joining this Railgirls, they started to host, or they started to become organizer for Rails Girls in Osaka. And in Rails Girls, they are interested in the sponsor company, and they decided to join for one of the sponsor company after they graduate. So Rails Girls has lowered the barrier for the participation, and this will give opportunity for many people who will start learning. And this event, people who have hard time thinking about this programming in like real image, well, in order to respond to such voices, and in order to increase the girls who are interested in the programming, we have organized Ruby Girls. I am Hasebe from Kyoto Women's University. I am the leader of Ruby Girls who will host this experiment session of the Ruby. I'm going to explain what I have done since this has been established. Ruby Girls is the student-oriented programming session, and mainly this is taught for high school student or first-year student or second-year student in college. So now the participants do not have to bring their own PC from this year. And next is objective of the Ruby Girls, to become able to write simple programming using Ruby. And although they don't know so much about programming, but in order to get rid of the negative image of the programming, I hope they will become interested. The Rails Girls Kyoto reflection meeting, we thought that we wish we have more opportunity for high school students who learn about programming. That's how we started this activity. So this is what we do, 3 different format. One is for targeting the first grade students in the Kyoto Women's University. Starting from this year, the Contemporary Society Department has established the IT major, and in order to know their activities, we had the demonstration session of the programming for the first year grade student. Next is the open campus. The high school students were gathered for Kyoto Women's University. We have conducted some demonstration. And also, we do host this kind of session in high school in the same umbrella of our university. The photos on this slide is the demonstration session for the first year student. We had 3 times, and a total of 30 students participated. And this is the open campus demonstration session. We had 4 days and total of 66 participants. From the participants, they said the image for programming is significantly changed, and they are now interested in learning programming. So I would like to hear from staff members of this demonstration session. Hello. I am Hirao from Kyoto Women's University. I joined Ruby Girls as a staff member to help programming experiment session for high school student. What I feel in doing this is people have different perspective, and that's so interesting. For example, the participants for the event using Ruby program, they play simple game, and that game is RPG. And depending on the selection of the participants, they will have all different sort of the result. And by experiencing such a result, we get a lot of feedback. One student said this game is very much fun, and one student asked, "How did you make this?" And another student said that he wished this program to be this one, like this. And I was so interested because they gave us so different feedback. And some of them give us the feedback that they wish this game to be slightly different. That was a really great opportunity to know this better. So the emotions or perspective of individuals so different and interesting to me. So when I participate in this kind of workshop, I'd like to open myself to these feedbacks to expand my field. So through Ruby Girls activities, I hope more and more students will have interest in programming and IT as one of the options concerning their future. Thank you for your kind attention. So finally, I want to give you some summary.
So we have finished with the allocated time, but so the activities done by our students. So by adding something to Ruby, they can deepen their understanding or deepen their learnings about Ruby. So these kind of additional activities can only be held only after 1 year of learning programming. It's just because it's Ruby. Thank you.
で京都女子大学の学生
So thank you, Ms. Koshi-san, and the students from Kyoto Women's University. So let's give them a warm round of applause.